Welcome back to the Flyin podcast. We got a full house tonight. We got two Zachs on, and we got Sam with us talking about FC Cincinnati's 3-1 convincing win and probably longest win, I guess, over the course of 2 days against the Chivas team in the Leagues Cup. So excited to talk about this game a little bit at the end of the episode about some possible incoming transfers. And then we'll kick it off, give a little bit of a kind of preview for an upcoming game, which would be this Friday. Still not sure who we're going to play yet. But Sam, what were your initial thoughts of this game against Chivas on this past Thursday and Friday?
Yeah, obviously the initial reactions is, geez, like that took forever. It was such a long game to, watch and I'm sure be a part of, spanning 2 days, as we'll touch on a little bit later. But as far as the actual game itself, I thought we played extremely well. We played like the best team in the MLS and the best team across two countries, right? And I think that goes to show, the level that the MLS is at. And I don't know if it just shows the difference of, a mid-season league versus, just starting their season league, right? Which I'm sure we'll touch on a little bit more later. But yeah, I thought we played really well. In the second half, I thought it was okay. But I always like to see a win, and on to the next round of the Leagues Cup we go.
Yeah, I thought it was a very interesting game. Just considering some of the things that Pat Noonan said about the first half, which we'll get into a little bit later. But I mean, overall, the boys did a great job. Played a heck of a game. With regards to the entire 2 day span of game, I guess you could say. The full, I think I was on Google and it said like 980 minutes or something, or I saw like plus
18 and a
900.
half hours between the opening and closing whistles is
Right.
insane.
Yeah. But it was a very unique experience, I would say. I don't think that's really happened in any tournament play. It'd be interesting to look at, but yeah, it was a fun game to say the least.
Yeah. Being there and watching the game in person was a very realistic and point of view to watch a different culture of players come into the United States and have a different kind of atmosphere from the fans. And it was an exciting game in the first half, and then of course in the second half, you go about 12 minutes in and you're cut by a rain delay. So I believe a lot of fans were not that happy about that. But it was a exciting game to watch overall, and I can't wait for the next game to come.
Zach, it's funny you kind of touched on that because I think somebody had commented on our past couple podcasts. We've had a few yellow cards and red cards about the weather. So I'm glad you touched on that, Zach, because it seems like we've been calling it out recently, and this is what we've been getting. So it seems like hopefully this isn't a trend for the future. I don't know, Zach, what were you? I think you're about to comment on that, but
I was just gonna say third time's a charm, isn't it? That's the third
for
one,
real.
right?
I think
Ended up in a
third or fourth in a row now at TQL, which is just insane. But overall, I agree with you guys. Good takes. Solid win. Like we had touched on, I think last podcast, Chivas is the top team in the Mexican League, even though they're only 3 or 4 games in. But we just looked the better team from the first 10 minutes out there. I think they were motivated. They were wanting to show that they were better than, the Sporting Kansas City game the week prior. And they really dominated that. Now that was kind of started off a little bit kind of on a weird note. The lineups come out, about an hour before kickoff. And I see Santos up there and I see Bupenza, and I'm like, okay, this will be interesting to see how they, play together. Sam, I think I touched on it, or I texted the group. I was like, I'm curious to see how these guys are together. And then, I see Brandon Vasquez warming up. and wasn't sure what that was about, but I was happy that they brought Vasquez in.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting move. Obviously when they put out the starting lineup, once again it's a thought of, okay, like here we go, Santos and Bupenza, let's get it. There's probably going to be a lot of energy up front. And then we kind of get word that Santos is having, it was a calf, right? A little bit of calf discomfort, and once again it's one of those things where after the signing of Bupenza and after Brenner leaves, we feel solid. Like we've got, our strikers back at place. Vasquez is good. Santos is good. We've got Bupenza, like I said, and now that Santos is out, you're relying on Kimi, right? As a possible striker, even, Kubo, which I hope not, or Acosta up top. But I think that hopefully it's not, too serious, that it just doesn't get re-aggravated and keeps happening. But definitely was an interesting thing to see there at the beginning of the game. But obviously as we watch the rest of the game, we're very, very happy that Vasquez started and Santos did not.
I feel like I want to be like the Bengals fans and like give my calf to Santos, just like Joe Burrow is now getting a calf.
I don't know if it's
injury.
as serious though, but I mean,
what's going on here? There's a
Just a
couple
pound of
calf
flesh.
injuries going on in Cincinnati, but Zach, what do you think about the starting lineup?
Yeah, honestly, same with both you and Sam. I mean, I was really excited to see just full speed on the front line, just Santos and Bupenza just running circles around everybody, drawing fouls left and right. Really looking forward to it. And then, like you said, Santos took that. I must have said a knock in warmups or something, but I'm curious, is that like the same injury that's been aggravating him through history, or is that something that's new? Because I'm curious if that might, because of that, that might mess up other things, you know? I
The
don't,
dude is like shredded. I mean, it seems like he's like walking on glass half the time because he's like always getting injured, unfortunately. It's been like his hamstrings, it's been his calves, and it was on the final shot of warmups. Now, initially it was reported calf. I think today somebody had even mentioned like hamstring. Who knows what it is? I just hope that the
yeah.
dude's all right. But Z-Dub, what do you think, man?
Yeah. Not knowing a lot of these guys made me question what was actually going to happen in the game. But I was happy to see Vasquez in the starting lineup as well as Bupenza up on top striker. So yeah, I was nervous coming into this game, not knowing who was actually going to be in the starting lineup until really soon before the match started. So I was happy to finally see the guys who were coming out and they performed. So
Yeah, I mean, even early on, right? In the first, 2 minutes of the game, it was just unbelievable. It almost kind of gave me like shades of the Columbus Crew game a few years ago where we get a goal within 30 seconds. I mean, obviously it was within the first or second minute, but, we're on a good break. I think Bupenza plays Vasquez out wide at the top of the box. He cuts around on his right foot and just whips a beautiful ball over the keeper. So I thought that was a great way to start it off, not only to say like, I didn't warm up, I wasn't supposed to be starting, but against the team, if people aren't familiar, Chivas Guadalajara actually put a bid in for Vasquez earlier this year for at first about 500,000, which was kind of like a slap in the face. They apparently had looked online, and that was this random website's valuation of him. Now they obviously updated that bid, and it went up to about 7 million. But still, Vasquez is like, you know what? That isn't enough. So he goes in and just puts one in right away. So I love that. I love that first goal. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I definitely, I think Vasquez has been, a different player since he came back from the U.S. men's national team. So it was nice to see him get on the board like real quick. And it wasn't Lucho creating for him. It wasn't anybody else creating for him. That was him. That was his goal. And it was within the first 2 minutes of the game. And so I don't think a lot of the times that you can really say that, Vasquez is able to create his own shot, if you will. I think that's been a lot of U.S. men's national team fans kind of debate when it comes to that striker position up top for them. And so being able to see Vasquez create on his own and say, hey, like, I can be a pure goal scorer. I can create on my own. And what a heck of a shot too. Like what a curl. And like I said, within the first 2 minutes of the match, like if you really wanted to say something, that, I mean, no better time to say it than the first 2 minutes of the game.
Man, yeah, you nailed it. I mean, if with Vasquez, like to your point, he doesn't create. I don't think there's any goal that he's created on his own where he just outright dribbles and shoots, you know? Like he's always getting an assist, help some way, shape or form, cross, header, you know? Um, and I think it was critical to the match as well because I mean that really put Chivas behind on the back foot, and that we kept the pressure up, and it really that momentum it really kind of made Chivas look flat in my opinion. Like they didn't really have much like they didn't really challenge Alec Khan from that point on. So um
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially with like the like starting out early against them and like just setting the tone against a top team like that. Um, Zach Wade could probably attest to this because like we were both there and could hear it. The Chivas fans were just incredible. They were bringing the energy. They had like their flags going. They had probably, I would say, about 45% of the attendance of the stadium. So, you go out within 2 minutes, you bang in a goal, and you kind of quiet them a little bit. Didn't you feel that in the stadium there, Zach?
Oh, 100%. He scored in the first minute, and that energy of the crowd, especially from the Bailey that night, it disrupted.
Yeah.
And it was the FC energy from there that I think led the match to scoring again in the 7th minute, and then it even got louder. But I was
Right.
to give credit to the other team, their fans would not stop.
Mhm.
The chants and the flags waving in the air. It was just an incredible atmosphere to witness. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good shout too, because especially with how soon we get our second goal, like Zach said, in the 7th minute, we have a nice build-up play. Lucho plays the through ball to Barrial. Barrial slots this beautiful ball. And how many times have we seen this, guys, where Vasquez has made himself available in the box? That's his bread and butter, like you guys are saying. Like Zach Cross had said, he doesn't really create as many of those chances for that, but he certainly is finding himself in good positions. Earlier on in the year, wouldn't finish them necessarily as well, but Barrel plays this ball in. He knows Vasquez is going to step off of the back defender, and he whips it in for his second goal. 8 minutes in, now we're up 2-0. But he was right. The fans for Chivas, I give them credit. They were really loud for their team. A lot of them probably are traveling from all over the country to see them. They're obviously disappointed, but they believe in their team still and a possible comeback because it is so early in the game at that point.
Yeah, I think, moving on to the rest of the game, let's talk about the second 45. Like, so being there, obviously, Ryan, Zach, you guys were there at the game, and having to sit through, those rain delay after rain delay. How was that for you guys? Ryan, you want to go, and then Zach, you can go. Like, just give me a glimpse of that, and also the listeners, kind of just give us a glimpse of what it felt like to sit there and not only get game time right at halftime, and then it was all right. Here we go. We're gonna play again, and then another rain delay.
So I contrast this to the last game. If you recall, in the Sporting Kansas City game, we go into a weather delay in about the 30th minute. Weird time for there to be a delay. This time we're in the 59th minute. Again, another weird time. I contrasted though to the last game where you couldn't see lightning. It wasn't raining. And all of a sudden there was this big, long, break. And it was only about a 30 or 40-minute break. Whereas this time, I don't know if you guys could, realize this watching on TV, but Zach and I saw it. It started lightning like probably 10 or 15 minutes before they even had called, the match for a delay or, to go into that break. So I was surprised that, okay, last week we didn't even see lightning and they, stopped it. But this week we're seeing it and they let play go on for a long time before they stopped it. But it killed the vibe. We were hoping originally like it was supposed to be a quick shower, but there's so many fans. It's so hot. You can't, get your cell coverage to see if there's storms coming in or not. So we're just kind of waiting and waiting. And Zach will probably kind of touch on this too, but they started playing, songs for, our supporters, some for the Chivas supporters that they were familiar with. So that kind of created a cool atmosphere, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, they were the Chivas supporters were actually singing to their songs, and then you had the FC fans who contributed with their chants, and then they started playing like Americanized music, sort of. But it fit two cultures together, that it mixed very well for being in a soccer stadium and what the circumstances were. And I think to contest to what Ryan said and Sam said about the kind of energy that went downhill once the delay started. I mean, the FC crowd was up and going because of the red card that happened with 3 minutes of stoppage or 3 minutes of stoppage time left. And so we were excited to see what that second half brought because of what happened. And once the weather came in, everybody started looking at their phones, and then you didn't know how long it was going to take, and it ended up being till I forget, like
1
1:15
a.m.
yeah, 1 a.m. in the morning, where they come out on their social medias and say, okay, the game's been postponed.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there at like 12:15, I think it was, and you're thinking to yourself, do we stay? Do we leave? Because you don't know what's going to happen. But
It
yeah.
was just strange. I'd never had that for an FC game where I've like left without the match being finished. That was for me the like most strange thing. And with the fact that like we dominated the first half, I think I had seen it somewhere like Pat Noonan said this was the best we've played like all year. I'm like, I want to see this. I really want to see the, rest of this game. Do they come back? Like, how do we finish it out? So just bizarre. It was strange, but it's so League's Cup though. That's what we've learned.
Well, and then so Chivas gets their goal, right? So
Right.
now it's 2-1. And
Can we
I don't know,
touch on
like,
how they get it too?
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, unbelievable like sequence of like you have this delay, you know, between days, and now the big thing we didn't even touch on is like these fans came from all over. Now, like, are they going to be able to go the next day and watch their team? Well, because they don't have the staffing and everyone to like support it, like they don't get to see it. We don't get to see our guys. So it's an empty stadium. It felt very like COVID-esque. It was just bizarre seeing it on TV. You get this restart, the players are ready to go, and they throw a long ball in and the guy heads it over Khan, and you're like, oh crap, what are we gonna do now? So Zach Cross, I guess, what did you think when that happened?
And I was like, this can't be real. Like, what? It just seemed like Alec Khan didn't really try, in my opinion, on that one. It was just a complete fluke. It seemed like we were not ready. Obviously, we were after a break from the delay. I mean, it's like you lose all momentum. You lose every bit of like your touch and whatnot. I mean, I don't know what it's like to play 60 minutes like outright and then just stop for like the 24
Well,
or
yeah, whatever
12
hours it
hours
was.
or
Yeah.
whatever. And then keep playing. And then it also gives Chivas the entire break, and all their guys are all healthy. And it almost felt like it was a back to 11v11 when we started back. So it was just a, like you guys said, bizarre situation. But the rest of the game, it was kind of funny. I don't know if you guys watched the highlights or the review on Apple TV, but it's really funny. It just like goes and plays the game and then it just stops and then flips over to the daytime. And it's like it was like a smooth transition. I'm like, whoa, this is weird without any sort of like mention of a delay. But yeah.
Yeah, there was no foreshadowing or anything. Just cut. All right, hey, there's nobody in the stadium. That's weird. It almost seemed like it was like a glitch out of FIFA. Like it was just
Right.
oh, there's no fans in the stands. All right. But yeah, I think watching obviously the highlights of the second half, because you couldn't really, get access to be in, or I guess watch the second half of the game there, but had to just rely on the Twitter feed for me. But I think after that goal, I'm like, oh geez, let's not, get a draw here. Let's, get another goal here. And who else gets the goal but Mr. Superman himself.
They almost had one in the 65th minute too. He almost slots one away. They were on press. I mean, we were up a man, so I was hoping, going back to last week's podcast too, is like we go up a man, like how do we play? How do we respond to that? And like Zach Ross made a good point. Like Chivas was kind of dominating like that last 30 minutes there. It kind of felt like at times like they were going at us a little bit more, but then we found our footing. We pressed, we almost get a goal. And then to Sam's point, I think it was the 73rd minute, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
We can call it an onside goal. It was an onside goal. I don't think he was off, but they reviewed it still, and they still called it that he was on. But that's a very big point of contention on Twitter, and a lot of the Chivas circles on Twitter weren't very happy about that, or the fact that there was a possible handball in the first half, but that's besides the point. We'll take that goal.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to see Vasquez get his first career hat trick. Like that was super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Just another FC Cincinnati striker to get his, hat trick. Once again, it was nice to see Brenner get his hat trick. And then now Vasquez gets his. And so I don't want that to be kind of like how things go, because Brenner got his hat trick, and then after a couple of months after that, he leaves, and then Vasquez gets his. Let's not let's not fall into this kind of flow of get a hat trick and then you leave. But yeah, I think it definitely ended the game on a nice note, and we win 3-1, and it's we're feeling good into the round of 32.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Zach.
I was just going to say just a little comment about the hat trick. It felt like a preseason match in the second half. And like after Vasquez scored the hat trick, he was like, oh, okay. And just walked back. Like he didn't really celebrate. Like it was kind of a bummer that like Zach Wade couldn't go watch a hat trick from Vasquez. Like that would have been amazing if you could have seen that live. Like, I mean, it's all whatever, but it's awesome that Vasquez finally got his hat trick. And I'm curious to hear what Zach has to say about it.
Yeah, it was well, same as Sam following it on Twitter. You didn't get the excitement as much, but you were still like, holy crap, someone just had a hat trick in the span of how many hours? I don't know if that's ever been done before. But touching back on the on how Chivas scored, it's becoming a reoccurrence in my perspective in the past couple of games I've been watching, how Hagelin's always in the mix and he's always a little off. But I don't know if that's just because if you watch the replay back and the highlights back and how they scored, I see a little push off from the middle, because the guy was standing in the middle, and Hagelin looked like he got pushed off a little bit in the front, but it looks like he got to work on his jump training just a little bit, because the dude, I love him, great defender, great soccer player to watch, but his vertical is not too good, and he's kind of slow on the defensive side.
You got to
But
be good at one thing. Like if you
yeah,
don't have the speed, then you got to be good in the air, or you got to have. But right now it feels like he doesn't have both. Even though last game he scores a diving header, it was like the best own goal I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, no, that's a great shout. I mean, I watched the replay back. I thought the same thing. I thought he got pushed too. I didn't think they would call it because it was kind of like a makeup because of the first half yellow and like the red. I thought the red was a red. I don't know what you guys thought, but I felt like it was a denial of a clear goal scoring chance. But that was one thing I wanted to kind of touch on is the physicality of playing a Chivas team. You see it live in the stadium. I don't know, Zach, if you felt this, but every time Vasquez gets the ball or Bupenza or Acosta, their guys are on us. I mean, they were on our touch every single time, but we probably played the cleanest game I've seen, with getting the ball in, whipping it around. It was impressive to see how they took it and that they didn't fall into the physicality of it, because too many times I've seen where teams would get chippy with us and we'll get more into, pushing and shoving instead of actually playing. So we dominated with our play instead of our, Matt Miazga style yelling at other players in the ref. So
to your point, I was very impressed with how Angula handled himself there in the midfield as well. With as much physicality as those Mexican teams come with, I thought he handled himself pretty well next to Immobile.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I mean, Ryan, you said we were very disciplined this match. Like Obi didn't get a yellow, so that means something, right? Like
yes, sir.
anytime he doesn't get a yellow, then I think we're doing something right on our fouls, right? But it is really interesting to see the pressure, like the difference in pressure from like a Mexican team versus a MLS team. Like it's like they fire on all cylinders on that back line. They jump on people so fast. Like you don't have any time to make any reactions. It's
a high press style, like almost Red Bulls, but they're technical, like in their
right.
game, and they can play it across the field. I was just looking at a stat here. I saw is we defended 15 corner kicks. So, I mean, they would swing the ball from side to side or play through balls that were tough for sometimes Murphy to handle, or for some of our outside backs too, to kind of contain. Now, what I thought was interesting too, to kind of put that more, in depth here for pressure, we had 26 clearances and they only had 4 clearances. So even though we, scored 3 goals and put them under, it shows you at least we had times where we did have to clear the ball out, and maybe we did, in that sense, get rid of a goal scoring opportunity, because I think they only had 1 goal or 1 shot on goal, and that was the goal. That was it. Otherwise, Khan wasn't really tested. So that was impressive to me. So any last, I guess, points or anything we wanted to bring up about the Chivas game here?
No.
I think it was bizarre for me. Like I said, just going to a game and not like seeing it finish, to have to like follow it in this way. I just hope that never happens again.
It's just
bizarre.
Just another Leagues Cup,
Yeah.
Leagues Cup, whatever you want to call it.
Right. Well, and that was the thing, is like, we're trying to figure out like what's the league rules for it. Like we had touched on, it was like 1 a.m. when, they like finally call it. And like Zach said, we tried to stay for it. We wanted to see it out, but at the same time, it's not like it's a Saturday night, it was a Thursday night. So it was just bizarre. Again, one thing that I'll kind of briefly touch on is they did the same thing as the last match too, with they, had the, U.S. national anthem while we were still on the concourse. Then the teams didn't even come out. They didn't even do the Mexican national anthem, guys. We were playing a team from Mexico and they didn't even do their anthem. It was just bizarre. So bizarre. You can maybe even, that's going to be like my random shout out as like a yellow card here. It's not my formal yellow card, but it should be a shout out, because that's just ridiculous when you have a Leagues Cup game for 2 countries and you can't even get that right. So anyway, I'm off my little rant here.
Get off your soapbox.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I have a trivia question for you guys here. And I'll ask you, Sam might have alluded to it a little bit, so I might change my question a little bit. I'll tell you the original one, and then I might modify it a little bit here. Okay. So how many players have scored a hat trick in FC Cincinnati history, including our USL days before the MLS? You get a bonus point if you can guess who the players are. I'll start with Sam.
Considering I feel like I've already said two. I know that there is two. But my guess is I'm gonna go with four. And then players would be Vasquez, Brenner, Ledesma, I think probably had one in there, and then I don't know, random guess. I'm gonna Danny Koenig.
Okay, King Koenig is the shout out there. All right, Zach Cross, what do you think?
Oh man, I was gonna say 4, but I think I'm gonna have to go 5 because you added one in there that I just remembered. So I'll do the same 4, but add Jibby Fall.
Okay. And Z-Dub, what do you think?
I'm just gonna guess the number, and I think it's 7.
Okay, all right, 7 it is. I guess like one thing that I would kind of note too is I'm talking about, I guess, the players, not necessarily how many games they had hat tricks too. So that might be a little bit of a, something to think about. I like your answers though, so we'll find out by the end of the episode. Stay tuned to that one. It's pretty interesting actually. So we'll go to our sponsor break here, and then we'll be back. We'll touch a little bit on our cards of the week and our jersey swaps, and we'll go from there. So see you back here in a second.
So Agility is a technology-driven soccer training facility. So we offer 6 facets of training. That would be Tech Touch with ball launchers that work on your first touch, the TSZ, which is the ESA equipment and working on decision making. We also have a circuit. Circuit training would be taking the ESA equipment to the next level. It's kind of like a soccer obstacle course. Then we offer neuroscience training with our reflection tools. Working on processing things a little bit faster, hand-eye coordination and such. We offer skills classes, which is your typical core skills training. Lots of people still enjoy that, so we work on a lot of attacking 1v1 skills. And then we also offer athlete development. So our athletes come here and they work on speed, agility, quickness, explosive movements, really just learning how to move and function a little bit better as an athlete.
Welcome back, everyone. We had just chatted on FC Cincinnati's big win against Chivas. It was a 3-1 win over the course of 2 days, something that the 3 and before the 4 of us had never seen. So that was pretty interesting. But wanted to say thanks to Zach for coming on and giving us his perspective. Like he said, he was in the stadium with me. So we just wanted to get his side of things, which was nice to have. Always good to have, multiple people there in the stadium, get different perspectives of it. So real quickly, one thing I wanted to kind of touch on is I was actually wrong in the last podcast, guys. This win here makes this our 21st win of the season, not our 20th. So our overall record this season is 21-6-2. Incredible. Just so good in all competitions. So very happy about that. Any, I guess, final thoughts? I didn't really get a chance to, give you guys that part of things, I guess.
Yeah, I think, once again, being 20 plus wins on the season, I think the 2 losses is extremely impressive. I think there could be, multiple trophies on the rise, hopefully here in the next couple months. But I don't want to obviously jump ahead too much, but this team is something special, and it's great to see. It really is.
Yeah, it's unreal to see the consistency that's coming from them week in, week out. The fact that they, like with our congested schedule, the fact that we are able to still pull out wins even in cup play with our depth and kind of moving people around. It's been fantastic and really kind of fun to see how Pat's going to pull out some sort of lineup each and every week. So it's an exciting year for sure.
It's been an impressive run, and just being a fan of the early, I guess, MLS years, even back to the USL, we did pretty well, but early MLS was kind of rough. So this is fun to watch. We'll kind of ride the high wave here. Sam, what was your jersey swap of the week?
Yeah, I think, usually Ryan takes the easy jersey swap. So I figured I take the easy jersey swap this week, and I'll go with Brandon Vasquez. The guy, once again, like we touched on, first career hat trick. And, like I touched on in the first half of the pod, he's been the Brandon Vasquez that we saw last season. He's back to being in that form. It feels like ever since he came back from the U.S. men's national team. He's got 4 goals and 1 assist in 3 games. And I think his finishing's there, and his movement off the ball is there as well. So he's finding those little spots to where Barreal, Acosta, whoever else is, feeding him the ball, he's getting in those right spots. Right. And so, once again, and he's showing, like I said, he can do it by himself as well. So I really think, he's gaining a lot of momentum here, and hopefully he stays with us here in the next, couple of days here by the end of the transfer window.
He's got now 10 goals in 23 games. He's already matched his MLS season number of goals just in Leagues Cup alone, I think. So good shout. Zach, what about you? What was your jersey swap of the week?
Yeah, I went with the good old Barreal. I don't think I've chosen him yet for this year for jersey swap, but he had 2 assists of the 2 nights, getting looks from both Ajax and Monza in the Serie A and Eredivisie. So he's doing his job. He's got 4 goals, 10 assists across all competitions, of course. He's playing fantastic in cup runs, in the cup run, and regular season. So I think he one of the best wing backs, I think, in MLS this year. I don't think there's really much competition, but I think he's definitely got that one.
I'm going to ride that just for a second because I just think the dude has just been out of this world. Think about like Zach and Sam, like you guys have played soccer. Like it's easy to like pick up like kicking a ball, like playing a position, like, his whole young, I guess, life, he's been more of an attacking player. But to go and transfer him to put him in, a left wing back role only last year. And now he, like you said, Zach, is like arguably the best left back / wing back like in the league, and was like an MLS all-star in that position, shut down like Arsenal's like better players, like unbelievable for him to come in and just do his job. I mean, he's the ultimate like do your job guy, and it's interesting to like think about if maybe Lucho wasn't here, if he would be doing as well. But credit to the coaching staff for, putting him in that position to succeed, but for him to really work at it and to say, I want to play, no matter what, I don't care where I'm playing. I just want to be on the field. So,
yeah. And I actually want to just piggyback off that. I think Barreal, had he continued playing as a forward or a winger, I don't think he would get as many looks with like he's just such a utility player. He's able to play that wing back position, and the fact that he's excelling at that position is getting a lot of looks from people because that's a very specialized role, and I think he's gonna go far.
You mentioned like the rumor was out today that Ajax, a team in the Dutch league, and then a Serie A team was also interested in him. I'm not surprised. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more looks of Barreal in the future. Zach, you make a great point though. Left wing back like that, left-footed young player who's ambitious that you can maybe even put as a outside winger in the attack, like that opens up doors. So a side note for, I guess, Ajax, I saw today, one of their assistant coaches was a former FC assistant coach. So there's some connection there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think if Barreal has the chance to go to Europe, I mean, it's hard not to say, he's really earned it, right? Out of anybody on this squad, obviously besides Lucho, he's been that second guy, right, who's really helped carry FC Cincinnati to where they are this season. And so his transfer fee has probably risen exponentially. I know we bought him for, I want to say, a little over 1 mil, and now it's got to be at least 5, 6, 7 in that area. So credit to him in the past couple years, really working hard on his craft, and like Ryan said, really adjusting to this system that Pat Noonan's created.
Segue. You guys ready for my jersey swap of the week? It's Pat Noonan. Woo! I think Pat's done a phenomenal job. This game was no exception to that. The way that he managed, having players like we talked about earlier on in the podcast over 2 days playing, like, phenomenal. I mean, it helps that you're up a man. It helps you're up 2 goals, but still, like, putting the right guys out there, trusting your guys, putting Khan in the back, putting Angulo, like Sam, you touched on earlier, a young player against one of the best Mexican teams, and he excelled. That's a credit to your coach. That's a credit to those guys having belief in him. Like we touched on with Barrial, like, everyone's bought in. So Pat's got it down right, and I hope that we continue that train. So Pat Noonan, we'll swap shirts or something, because I don't think you probably don't have a jersey, but dude, you've done a great job so far.
The man deserves an award.
Let's get him a team of the
Something.
week award or something. Dude's not had any team of the week manager positions, none. It's ridiculous. So Sam, what was I guess on the opposite side, what was your card of the week?
Yeah, I mean, card of the week is usually something negative around FC Cincinnati or around the game or something like that. My card goes to our rivals in the Columbus Crew fans. They're probably crying their eyes right now, just bawling their eyes out because Zelarayan is going to the Saudi League. Now, we don't know the fee, we don't know the salary. However, that doesn't really matter because Columbus Crew has 2 days, 3 days to find somebody to replace him, and they're 6th right now in the standings. And so even the Crew president / general manager described the offer as one they really couldn't refuse, right? And so as a club legend, I find that kind of gut wrenching, if you will, but I'm not a Columbus Crew fan, so I'm just going to laugh at it. But they're losing a guy who's responsible for 40% of their goals this season, whether that be assisting or scoring. I think that's going to be a huge blow, and it's going to be, kind of nice to see. Their next MLS game is against us. So should be nice to see what the atmosphere is in the stadium, if they're still picking up the tissues or, what's going on. But that's kind of my card of the week.
Dude, always slighting
Man,
Columbus Crew. I love it. I love it. Zach, what was your card of the week, man?
I just got to compliment Sam. You killed that card. Honestly, there wasn't really much to hate. Honestly, mine was kind of just an interesting, just silly one. The fact that Mexico has jersey numbers in the hundreds is so cool. Like, it's cool, but it's also silly as heck. Like, the fact that a player can have the number 330 or whatever, why? It's just seeing it on the back of the jersey, it fills the entire back panel. So it's it's cool because you can see if there's a player with the higher number, it's interesting to see them on a first tier team, because usually that's a lower tier player, because they stay with that number throughout their entire academy or whatever. So seeing a player with 300 or 200 playing on the first team for Mexico is actually really impressive. So I thought that was kind of a cool situation overall.
Good shout. I didn't realize that. That's interesting though. And just to see that they work through their system. I guess I know my answer to this question. I had a question for you both. My, I guess, question, I'll phrase it this way, is, You touched on jersey numbers. What, I don't think we ever touched on this in our podcast. What would be your jersey number, Zach, if you were playing professionally? Not 300.
Well, it would start with a 3. It would be either 3 or 33.
Are we
More than
all?
likely.
I think we're all threes. That's insane. We all like the number 3. That is hilarious. I know Sam's answer to that one already, so I'm not even gonna ask him.
Gonna be a 3, huh?
Yeah.
Dang.
That's funny. All right, that's good. We found that out tonight. So you're welcome, everyone. My card of the week was gonna be touching on it again, just the decision to end this past game at 1 a.m. Like, can we have some sort of rule that says after like an hour or two, let's just make a decision? Like, we don't need to like delay this and like have people wait and they don't know what's going on. The media doesn't know what's going on. The league didn't even seem to know what was going on. There's just got to be a better cohesive way to get this done. Again, I've never seen this happen. It'll be I guess a soft yellow for me, but I don't know. I'm just sick of like rain delays. So I'm going to do that as part of it too. And I guarantee the next game, probably Friday, it's going to rain now because I said that, but oh, well.
I thought it was interesting to add to, I didn't get to really add to it earlier. I did have like a couple of people, the rest of my family that were at the game that were asking me like, is this kind of like baseball where if it gets rained out, whoever's in the lead, or after like a certain period of time, like, because it was after halftime, right? So is that like a, games
Right.
done and then, whoever's winning wins, or, how does that work? And I think to that point, does that make it too like American? You know what I mean? Does that change soccer so much? But I think from a fan perspective, you want to see a result. Like, you don't want there to be nobody in the stands. Like, I think that's kind of the situation that you don't want to run into if, I'm FC Cincinnati, or if I'm, the MLS or the people putting together Leagues Cup.
I left that game saying or asking the same question as to whether like, this is kind of the tournament to like figure some of these rules out. Like your touch on baseball, like, they would implement the minor leagues for, different rules for things. Let's use Leagues Cup to say, we're going to do PKs as our way to end things and change the point values. We're going to, maybe change the way that we do like weather delays. If it's doing this, okay, well, if it's been 60 minutes, then that team wins. Because it doesn't seem to, I guess, happen as much. It's just interesting. That's a good point. I've not really thought about that, and I hope I never have to really think about that again either. So moving on, we touched on it. FC advanced. We had 2 games in this Leagues Cup group play. We topped the group there tonight. Sporting Kansas City will play Chivas, which kind of determines second place. We actually won't, go on to play one of those teams, but this coming Friday, we'll host a home game in the final 32, either versus Chicago, Nashville, or a Deportiva Toluca, I think is how I pronounce it, depending on the winner of tonight's game between the Toluca team and the Colorado. So it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to hopefully playing, teams we don't get to play too much as like Nashville would crave to play their rivals again. I want to play somebody different, and it would be a good time to do that. It'd be cool to see again on a Friday night. It'll be rocking. I'm sure TQL, even though it's a shorter time for people to buy tickets, I'm sure people are going to buy it up. So are you guys looking forward to that one coming up?
Yeah, I think to your point, I want to see somebody that we haven't played, and I think Toluca would be really cool to not only play another Mexican team, but to dominate another one. So that way we can continue to look like the most dominant force, in Northern America. I think that'd be really cool. But I think watching the other Leagues Cup games, I think Toluca they're up 1 on goal differential. And so Colorado hasn't won a game. They don't have any points. So I think, all Toluca has to do really is just get a draw or get points, and they win I guess their group.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice I think it'd be preference with entertainment value, I'd rather see Toluca play us. I think seeing them come from, you said they're playing in Colorado, so they're playing coming from Denver, so quick turnaround. That'll be a tough pill to swallow for them with having to travel over here to good old Ohio and playing in the heat as well. I mean, it's supposed to be really hot this coming week, so having having that quick turnaround, their travel's probably beating them up. So I think that'll be a preference on my part to play Toluca.
They kind of give us a good outlook on teams that we would possibly play. I want to kind of turn our attention towards our own team now. Coming out of like a split day game, if you want to call it, you want to see how your guys are doing. How did they fare over, playing, in two different, I guess, settings, one where it's raining, one where it's really hot in the back-to-back. I'm interested to see how Pat will actually, make us line up, I guess, for this game. Earlier on in the beginning of like Leagues Cup, I thought, okay, Khan's going to start, but maybe as we get down into the knockouts more, maybe Celentano starts getting in to get him some, PK experience like we talked about last podcast. But knowing kind of the way that he's been coaching this team, he's going to roll out the same people. Let's be honest. I mean, it's going to be the same starting lineup. Maybe probably Angulo again. I would love to see that again. He's been playing well recently. Moreno at some point's got to come back in. I feel like some ways you got to merge your starters and some of your backup guys to get ready, like we had touched on our next MLS season game, which is August 20th against the Crew. So if our guys have been, playing here and there, not really playing as many minutes, you go and play Columbus and you really haven't had those guys start and play a lot, then they're not really prepared. So in the two games, we've seen a balance. We've seen Mascara in for one, Miazga in for the other one. So he's kind of doing a good rotation of those guys to continue to get them minutes, but through the knockout stage will be interesting to see. I think he'll start our main guys because historically the MLS season has been where you continue to play through your all-star break and everything. So those guys are going to play heavy minutes, I think, still.
Yeah, I think that's a good point about just getting everybody kind of back into things. The regular starters, if you will, you touched on Moreno, and also, Celentano being another one. I think Arias probably another one that's usually,
he ever gets back from Colombia.
Yeah, usually the better start on the right-hand side, right? Just getting those guys more involved this next game would be nice. If it is a substitute or if it is a start, just to get their legs underneath them again, because obviously the game's a little bit different than training. So I'd like to have them ready to go against Columbus, especially for that game.
Yeah, with the schedule and whatnot, I don't remember when the final is. You might have to.
It's like right before or right after the Columbus game. It's like, I think the day before, something like that.
Which will really play an interesting part if we can keep our momentum going in the cup and keeping those wins coming. And I think with that, I think having a solid back line with these knockout stages, with having both Mascara and Miazga in, I think will be critical. And having, I'm torn between both Hagelin and Murphy. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't know who I'd rather have at this point. You got one scoring on goals, but then the other one's picking up yellows
and reds.
And reds. Let's be honest. Like I don't know which one I'd rather have, and they're both kind of same speed, and it's tough. Honestly,
do you look outward then? That was going to be my next question. Is do we find somebody in the next 2 days? The MLS transfer window ends August 2nd, this Wednesday. Do we trust the guys we have, or do we look outside? What do you guys think?
I mean, as of right now, it hasn't really bit us in the butt too much. Thank God for Lucho, because he's rescued us from those mishaps, and he pretty much is the only reason why we've recovered from those certain games. But yeah, you have to, like, if you want to win every single competition we're in right now, you got to go get some depth, because when it comes to trying to win all of these competitions, you're going to need depth to give guys breaks, right? So I think getting one more center back, and do we need another strike? I mean, I don't know if Santos is, I don't think
Baji's coming back too.
Yeah, Baji's coming back too. So I think we'll be fine. But center back is definitely the thing that we need. And so if they could get it the next couple of days, that'd be great. If not, I don't think it's going to cost us the regular season title, but it could cost us some other cup.
Well, touching on like the fact of being in multiple cups as well, like you need the depth for that. If you're going to make deep runs, and maybe in Leagues Cup you get guys experience playing in a deep run, which kind of sets yourself up for MLS Cup later in the year. I mean, we're already in the semifinal of Open Cup, so that's getting guys good experience that way. Sam, you had sent me this rumor, I guess, from the MLS Turkey account that basically is touching on that FC is looking at a center back from the Turkish league. Historically, guys, we've been pretty good at getting guys from that league so far. What do you think?
2 for 2.
two for two.
Yeah, you mentioned on your notes, you say rumor from MLS Turkey, but don't say the name. And I'm like sitting here, come on, who is this? Like, do we know?
They had a rumor about a guy who played for, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was San Jose before.
I think so.
He was a 31-year-old center back with good experience.
Gives an added experience, yeah.
Yeah, had played previously in the MLS, but was looking to possibly come back. I'll have to go back and look exactly who that guy was, but it could just be chatter of the agent trying to find this guy a team. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's always fun to kind of follow those things, though. I think, we've been fortunate this year. We've had such a good team. We don't really need to be like Columbus. Shout out to Sam's Card for that. Right now they're like, who are we going to get? Oh my gosh, we're in 6th place. This is our year. Like, we just brought in a center back today. We just lost our, best player, so we're not in that desperate mode, which I'm very thankful to be in right now.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, I guess, on either transfer window, Leagues Cup, before I give you guys our trivia answer?
No, I think we're all good.
Zach, what about you?
I'm just I'm looking forward to going to see a match this Friday. How about
All
you
right.
guys?
Yeah, potentially.
You guys gotta come on. You guys gotta come with me. Let's go.
The one last thing I wanted to kind of point on, tonight into the morning, the U.S. women's national team plays their final group game. They play Portugal, so I'm going to be rooting on, those girls to hopefully advance. I think they're in a good position to right now.
Never lost to Portugal.
They've never lost to Portugal. I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yep.
And my other side note was Zach looks like he's painting his room the color of Seattle Sounders, so we'll have to change that.
No, it's just green grass. It's green grass. That's
it's the pitch, right?
Yeah, it's the pitch. He wants to. Yeah,
Bills.
he's putting it on the pitch. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. All right, guys, how about we give you our trivia answer for this week? You ready for it?
Let's hear it.
All right, so reading the question here again: how many players have scored a hat trick in FC Cincinnati history, including our USL days? And then again, it was a bonus if you could guess the players. Sam, I think you might have to remind me on this one. I had locked in 4.
Yeah.
Okay. And had a couple named guys earlier on in the podcast with Brandon Vasquez, Brunner, and Koenig and Ledesma. I think we're his 4.
Yeah.
Zach, you had, I think, was it 5?
I had 5.
And you had an honorable mention for GB.
Yeah, he was the 5th, along with the 4 that Sam said. Yep.
Well, combined, you guys were kind of right on this one, but on the people part. So the answer was 3.
Oh,
it was actually 3. So pretty interesting. We've had back in the USL days, 2017, GB had 4 goals against St. Louis. So he actually had 4. It was pretty cool. Not even just a hat trick. And then going back to MLS, our first 2 years or 3 years, I guess. Technically, we didn't really have anybody score more than like 1 goal, to be honest. I thought Ledesma, Sam, was a good shout. I thought he for sure had it because he led the league in the USL in 2018 in goals. It was Brenner last year who had 3 hat tricks in a single season, which is pretty incredible. He's the only guy on our roster, I guess, to score a hat trick in the MLS season. Vasquez, obviously, you know, having this one in Leagues Cup doesn't count towards the MLS, but I thought that was pretty interesting.
That's crazy.
I would have thought many more people had scored a hat trick, but you're right. There's quite a drought, so to speak.
Our first couple years, we like had like 10 goals scored or something like ridiculous like that over the course of the whole season. So I was like, I'm not even going to look at those first couple because I knew it wasn't good. But yeah, shout out to Brandon Vasquez for getting, you know, 3 goals against this team that, you know, really wanted him. And actually that Vasquez was a fan of growing up too. I don't know if you guys realize that or not. It was his childhood team that he supported. So he was playing motivated, which is kind of cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, well, if we got nothing else to touch on here, then I will kind of shut this down for our episode. We'll chat next week, hopefully on a big win on this coming Friday in the round of 32. Hopefully by then we'll be heading to the Sweet 16.
Maybe another signing.
Possible another signing. And then down the line here, don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but we might have another former MLS guy, maybe current FC person around the club coming on for an interview with us. So stay tuned for that, guys. Really excited for everyone to hear that interview. So we will see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in today.